Hi there. I would like to tell you a story. This is a story about a singer, a lawsuit, some celebrities, and $10 million. The story actually has already been told. In fact, the story already went viral. Here's the thing about viral stories. There's a human element to that, and we forget that because we forget that person, and we forget that article, we forget that video about the guy falling for 7 seconds on the ice. What happened to that guy? We have very short attention spans. We get distracted. We get bored. Oh, crap. The story went viral because of the headline. I mean, that's how most stories go viral, right? Clickbait articles, even news sites have very clickable headlines to sell subscriptions and ads and whatever else they do. But the headline wasn't the truth. And the result is that a very good friend of mine is going to work to change the laws that could help to protect people like you and me. That's a pretty good story. Okay, let's start with the headline, the one that was seen all over the world, and we'll go from there. Singer sued for being too ugly. Good clickable headline. But that's not the story. This is Collette McLafferty. Collette is a professional singer in New York, and she's been making her living as a professional singer for over 20 years. Not a lot of us get to make a living from our art, so she's really lucky. Well, she was really lucky. This is Charles Chuck Bonfanti. He used to be a drummer in the 80s for Michael Bolton when Michael Bolton was going through a kind of metal phase, and he was also involved in some very second-rate 80s metal hair band. But now he's a personal injury attorney. I'm sure he's not a litigious egomaniac in any way, shape, or form. This is a cat. Hi. This is Rick Navone. Navone was a client of Bonfanti's. Later, he became his acquaintance, and later his friend, and after that, the subject of Navone's obsession and slight worship. Everything was going fine until they turned against each other in a bitter rivalry for the ultimate control of Long Island's cover band scene. Oh no! Yeah! And this is $10 million. Okay, so I think you've met everyone, except for the celebrities, of course, but we haven't gotten to meet them yet either. One day, long, long ago, Bonfanti decided that being a lawyer really wasn't satisfying his urge to rock. So he decided to come out of musical retirement, and he set his sights high. According to the really long lawsuit Bonfanti wrote, he was an awesome lawyer. The only thing that he was better at than lawyering was drumming. He took the time in the lawsuit to not only list the bands that he's played with, but all the bands that the bands he's played with. It's a long list. As you can see, he's mere degrees of separation away from being very famous. Bonfanti then takes the next several paragraphs to compare himself to Navone and how much better he is at drumming than Navone is at other musical stuff. Then, at some magical moment, Bonfanti awakened from what I can only assume is a coma and listened to Pink, the artist, for the first time in 2012. Just because he was late doesn't mean he wasn't infatuated. He was taken with her ability, and he thought what any lover of art would think upon experiencing such an amazing thing. I bet I could totally do that. Keep in mind, Bonfanti claims that he wasn't really Navone's friend. They were not close, so he was just kind of humoring him because he paid him so many compliments. When Bonfanti had the idea to form a Pink cover band, he kept this stellar idea. It's really good. Top secret. Wouldn't tell anybody. It was the most precious thing that he could possibly hold on to with his teeny tiny litigious fingers. Eventually, Navone wore him down, probably by coming in every single day and asking him if they could be in a band together. Bonfanti relents, tells Navone about the Pink cover band. Navone is super excited and blabs it to everyone at their poker games. I'm sorry, did I not mention that they played poker together and they went out to dinner a lot, but they were not friends? Okay. Turns out Navone was a really big fan of Collette McLafferty, and he really loved her band, Edible Red. They were doing really well with their own songs. They were getting on soundtracks and television shows. I mean, they were no Long Island cover band, but they were doing all right. Navone managed to find the time to ask Bonfanti to audition Collette McLafferty to be in the Pink cover band. Bonfanti was all like, ew, no, she's subpar, and I already have a subpar musician in the band. You, duh. Okay, those were not his exact words. His exact words were, she is simply subpar, and that he was appalled and hated her singing. That's nice. Bonfanti further claimed that neither Collette nor another defendant added to the aesthetic of the Pink cover band experience. We're going to show you another picture of Bonfanti just to drive that point home. Okay. So now things get really weird. Navone goes to Bonfanti and asks to borrow $15,000 because he's been living off of his aunt's account and it's about to run out, and oops, by the way, he's being investigated for elder fraud. What? In probably the only smart move he's ever made, Bonfanti says, ew, no way, and we're done here. So Navone gets all offended, and he goes away and forms his own Pink cover band. He hires Collette McLafferty as the singer and another defendant in the band, plus a whole bunch of other people. They do one gig. She is paid $75 for that performance. She doesn't know anything about the super weird War of the Roses that's happening between Bonfanti and Navone. I need to stress something at this point. McLafferty has never met Bonfanti. Collette McLafferty has never met the man who is suing her for $10 million. They're going to meet on the 19th, which is very, very soon. But this lawsuit has been dragging on for years, and she's never seen him in person. Ever. Nor has she spoken to him. Fun, right? You can be sued for $10 million by someone you've never met. Ideally, not for long. We all know that an online presence can either hurt or help your career. That's why you don't post pictures of the Bloody Marys that you're having after you've called in sick to work. But what if your online presence was your job? Collette McLafferty gets hired all over the world as a singer, so when people started Googling her, this is what they found. Singer sued for being too ugly. Now, how did they find that? Because Collette went to the press to try and clear her name to get this ridiculous lawsuit straightened out, and everyone would realize that Bonfanti was off his nut and it would go away. That's not what happened. The press wanted to sell papers, sell ads, so they made a more clickable headline. Two men with actual jobs fight like tiny toddlers? Singer sued for being too old and too ugly. Collette's age was actually never mentioned in the lawsuit, but the New York Post really liked that it could add an angle, so they went with it. Not only that, when they ran the story, they altered a picture of Collette to make her look like she fit that headline. A reporter from Fox News actually told her that a singer being sued for being too ugly is way more interesting than two dudes in their 50s fighting over a cover band. The only problem is, the second one's the truth. She does some crowdfunding in order to help pay her legal fees. This thing should have been thrown out immediately, but it wasn't, because Bonfanti is an attorney, and he used that to be able to drag this thing out for years and years. But now, it's finally going in front of a judge on July 19th. At that point, they're going to be discussing Bonfanti's troubling lawsuit and his content and his rudeness. Also, the fact that he divulged parts of Navone's case in his own lawsuit, which breaks attorney-client privilege. I mean, he is just killing this lawyering thing, just slaying it. But this didn't force Collette into a hole or to back down. Here's what she actually did. She worked with her local assemblywoman to introduce the Frivolous Litigation Reduction Act, also known as Collette's Law. This is a bill to help curb frivolous lawsuits like this one and to help the victims get justice. Collette's work is inspiring and deserves to go viral, because that kind of lawsuit reform is a step in the right direction for all of us. Also, those two grown-ass men who are fighting with each other over a cover band. I'm a better drummer. You're an idiot. All right, boys, break it up. No! Oh! Oh! I am Collette McLafferty, and I stand for justice.